Yeah, FTY and RTY. All of you type FTY and RTY in the chat box. First time yield, rolled throughput yield. Okay, fine. First of all, I'll talk about these yield metrics step by step. Measurement drive behavior. Tell me how you will measure me. I will tell you how I will behave. Metrics drive behavior. How many of you agree? If you focus on cleanliness, cleanliness will improve. If you focus on health, health will improve. If you start measuring health, health will improve. Metrics drive behavior. So we need to have right metrics to drive behavior, right behavior. So I want you to write in your notebook final yield or classic yield. Both are same. Okay, final yield or classic yield. So before I explain about yield, I want to ask you, what is your understanding of yield? Just type, just type in the chat box, what is yield means as per you? Output, okay? Output, end product, okay? Production, okay? Okay, end result. Let us understand this. Okay, thank you very much for your participation. See, whenever I wanted active participation, I want your answer, I will open up the chat box because I can't see you in this online space. I can't see you, I can't hear you. Only way that I engage with you through the chat box. So active chat box. At the same time, when I don't want distraction, when I want to communicate, I will close the chat box. Okay. So please give me permission to do that. So final yield is nothing but whatever is a good product, successful product that has come at the end of a production over the total unit submitted. Okay. If this is clear, all of you type SC, super clear in the chat box. Final good, successful products that has come. Okay. Thank you for your participation. Now, you have some input units that you put inside. Okay. It might be for drilling, for example, for drilling a hole, you put a piece of metal. Let's say the part is a metal with a piece of hole, with one hole in that. So you put some units here inside. You do this drilling operation of making a hole. Okay. You verify the hole is okay or not. And if the hole is okay as per dimension, then it's a good product that has come out. Now, if the hole is a little bit undersized, lesser in size, you do a rework by making the hole bigger. Suppose if the hole is bigger in size, you cannot make it smaller. Okay. So some can be reworked and some cannot be reworked. What cannot be reworked becomes a scrap. Okay. So far, if this illustration is clear, on a scale of 1 to 10, please give me a 9 or 10 because each step is important for you to understand this. Each step is important for you to understand this. Good. Great. Just be with me, be focused. Okay. Now, this rework is called hidden factory because the factory was not built to do the rework. Okay. All of you type HF in the chat box. Hidden factory. Hidden factory. Rework is called as a hidden factory. Good. Thank you very much. And these days, like for example, it is not only in just manufacturing. The hidden factory is there in service also. Okay. You make a purchase order, you make a wrong purchase order, you either rework the purchase order or you scrap that purchase order and make a new purchase order. Okay. You make some invoices, make some mistakes in the invoices, either rework the invoices or scrap the invoice and make a new invoice. Right? How many of you can relate to what I'm saying? Type ICR. I can relate in the chat box. Okay, fantastic. Good. Now, the classic yield, or in other words called final yield, ignores the role of hidden factory. It only checks how much at the end has come out well. Okay, how much at the end has come out well. It ignores the role of hidden factory. Or in other extreme case, I would say, if all the products you produced is defective, and if you rework all the defective parts and make it acceptable, then the final yield or classic yield is 100%. But what you have actually done, you have not made right the first time. You have reworked, you have made wrong the first time, but you have reworked everything and you have given 100% yield. If this is clear, type SC, super clear in the chat box. Okay, somebody said no, you ignored energy. There is a manpower. There are a lot of cost that is involved in that. Not only energy cost, but also manpower cost. There are a lot of other cost that is involved. Okay, consumable cost and many cost. I'm just saying for understanding your yield, you would say that you put 100 pieces of good parts, even all of them are defective, you have reworked and given 100%. That means 100% yield because the classic yield ignores the role of a hidden factory. So the final yield at the end of the process, ignoring the hidden factory, it is ignoring the hidden factory. Only scrap is accounted for. Rework is not accounted for. Okay. Example, 100 units have come here. Step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4, 3, sorry. Okay. Let's say 10 units lost as scrap, 10 units lost as scrap, 10 units lost as scrap in each of these steps. Then finally 70 units have come out. Okay, 70 units as final yield. If this is clear, type super clear in the chat box. Very simple, right? Out of now, suppose at each step, if I say 20 defective parts were there at each step, out of this 20 defective parts, 10 was scrapped and 10 was reworked. Again, in step 2, 10 was 20 defective were there, 10 was scrapped and 10 was reworked. And again in step 3, 20 defective parts were there, 10 was scrapped and 10 was reworked. Still, the final yield is 70 only. Let me repeat again. I will repeat again. If there were 10 scrap in each of these steps, even then it is straight away 70 units is the final yield. This is one situation. But let us look at the other situation where 20 defective, 10 was reworked in each of these steps. But still the final yield is only is the same 70. If this is clear, type super clear in the chat box. Because whether you straight away scrapped it or you have reworked and put, the final yield consists only of scrap. It doesn't take into account of the hidden factory or rework. That is the point that I'm trying to communicate here. Okay, now the hidden factory or hidden process that we call. So the final yield is always see what is the finally successful candidates out of the total candidates who have come inside. Okay, 100 minus 30. Don't include scrap here. That is the final yield is 70%. Can you think of examples of hidden factory in your process? Can you think of some examples of hidden factory in your process? Can you think of it? Okay, a lot of you can think of it. Okay. Percentage code that is reworked. Fantastic. Incidents not resolved. Fantastic. Good. Increased cost. Great. Okay. Thank you very much for your amazing participation. All right. So the question, how is the final yield calculated in the manufacturing process? So that you don't forget the concept, I have impregnated the question answer session between the slides. Do you think that is useful? Type super useful if you find it is useful. I will integrate the questions between every concept. Okay. I'm glad that all of you are finding it very useful. Okay. How is the final yield calculated in the manufacturing process? Number of defective units divided by total units produced. Total unit produced by total input material. Number of good units produced divided by total units started. Number of units reworked divided by total units produced. Just answer this question carefully, okay? What's the correct answer? C is the correct answer, okay? Super C is the correct answer. Right. Thank you very much for your participation. Number of good units produced divided by total units that was started. Just now some people will mistake. Defective units means rework is also a defective unit. Understand that, okay? That's where is a slight trick here. Okay, was it a good question? What is a good set of answers? Type yes in the chat box if you found this a little bit of twist that I had kept here. Okay. Next question. How is classic or final yield calculated? Classic and final yield are same, okay? Total output by total input. Number of good units divided by total number of units produced into 100. Sum of yield at each step divided by number of steps into 100. Total defects by total units produced. Now this is a different way of asking the same question, okay? This is also the quiz question, okay? Final examination, you will get this. It is actually B is the right answer. This is also, see, we need to do a little bit of thinking to answer these questions, okay? Number of good units, okay? We will go to what is called as throughput yield. All of you type YTP in the chat box. Throughput yield. Very interesting concepts. And one thing that you should write in your notebook, okay, there's one gentleman who has typed, I don't understand. There are two things that you can do. If you really want to learn this, stay through and then try to understand that so that you can become that valuable. Or if it is, you think it's not useful to you or valuable to you, you can skip this, okay? Now, throughput yield used to measure quality at single process step. Throughput is not for set of processes. Throughput is single process step. I want you to type yes, PS in the chat box, okay? This is the most important thing in throughput yield, single process step. Okay, let me explain to you with an example so that you understand it better. Units through that step right the first time by total units submitted. Now, this is what I said, you need focus to understand this. Yield of the step excluding scrap and rework. Yield of that step excluding scrap and rework. Example using step 1. 100 units are put. In step 1, 10 units lost as scrap and 10 units are reworked. So totally, how much is the defective in step 1? 20 is defective, okay? Defective means rework plus scrap is defective, okay? Some defects are reworked, some are not reworked, okay? Okay, good. Now, in the step 1, what is YTP? If 20 is gone, what is YTP? 80. Easy question, right? Now, it is important to understand this is calculated for each step. It is important to understand that this is calculated for each step. So throughput exercise that I will give you. Okay, calculate the final yield of each steps in this example. We will take the same example where step 1, there was 10 lost as scrap, 10 is rework. Step 2 also same, step 3 also same. We will calculate the final yield at each step and throughput yield at each step. Before that, some questions. Okay, what does throughput yield measure in production process? The speed at which products are produced, the total number of units produced, the proportion of unit produced that were produced without defects, the cost of producing each unit. Simple, right? Okay. Thank you for answering. Okay. One more question on throughput. How is throughput yield calculated? By dividing the number of defect-free units by total number of units. By multiplying the number of defective units by total number of units. By adding the number of defect-free units to the total number of units. By subtracting. Now, this is also very easy to answer, right? Okay. Defect-free unit. By dividing the defect-free units by. Okay. Now, we will calculate the rolled throughput yield now. Quickly. Scrap was 10, 10, 10. Okay. Scrap was 10, 10, 10. Rework was 10, 10, 10. And the input. Okay. I'll explain you with, first I'll go through this and I'll explain through Google Sheet. Okay. And now, if 100 unit was put first, the second step has got 90, the third step has got 80. How many of you understood this? Type me in the chat box. If you have understood, type US in the chat box. If you have understood. Or if you have not understood, type not in the chat box. So some people have not understood. Okay. I will explain to you. See, in the first step, 100 units were taken, put. 20 was defective, but 10 was reworked and put back. Okay. So if 20 was defective, balance is 80, 10 was reworked and put, it becomes 90. So 90 came into step 2, 20 became defective, so it becomes 70. But 10 was reworked and put back, it became 80. And in third step, 80 was introduced, 20 was defective, it became 60. 10 was reworked, 60 plus 10, which is 70. If this is clear now, type SC super clear in the chat box. Now, I want you to understand this with, I've made a special Google Sheet for you. Okay. Let me share with you that. Just give me one moment. I will share the Google Sheet here. Okay. If you all can see this, type yes in the chat box. If you can see my Google Sheet, type yes in the chat box. Okay. Now, I'll go step by step, explain to you slowly and steadily. Okay. Now, if my input is 10, 100, 10 is scrap and 10 is rework, total defective is how much? This plus this is the total defective. Okay. If this is clear, type clear in the chat box. Total defective is so much. 20 are defective. Okay, fine. If 20 are defective, the first time right is 100 minus 80 pieces is first time right. If this is clear, type clear in the chat box. 80 pieces is first time right. Okay, right. Now the good pieces, if you see the good pieces, this is 80 plus rework is also added. Yes or no? Type yes in the chat box. Okay, all of you have understood. Just be with me so that you can understand this. Okay. Now, actually, the final yield is 90 pieces were good and 100 pieces came, it is 90%. Okay, if this 90% is clear, type SC super clear in the chat box. This is the final yield. And now this is important. Okay, now this is important. The throughput yield is whatever is first time right. Whatever is first time right divided by 100. Throughput yield is 80. Okay. If this is clear, type super clear in the chat box. Throughput is first time right. Okay. Good. Now the thing is very simple. Whatever is a good pieces, that moves into process step 2 process, because 10 was reworked and put. Now again 10 gone here. The total defective is the same as here. 20 is defective. What is the first time right here? This minus this. 70 was right the first time. If this is clear, type SC, super clear in the chat box. Good. I will share this Google Sheet with you. Okay, so the good pieces is 70, which is first time right, plus whatever was reworked. So 80 is the good pieces. And the final yield is 80 divided by this 90. If this is clear, type SC, super clear in the chat box. Now, most of the people will drop out after this, okay? Now, if you see the throughput yield is whatever first time right divided by the input, which is 77.78. This is important to understand. If this is super clear on a scale of 1 to 10, please give me a 9 or 10 if it is super, super clear. All right. I will share the sheet with you. Don't worry. Okay. I'll share the sheet with you. Now, in the step 3, whatever is good pieces comes into step 3. And again, here, 10 people, 10 will be scrap and 10 will be reworked. Okay. So the total defective is 10 plus 10, which is 20. And the first time right is 80 minus 20, 60 is first time right. Good pieces is 60 is first time right, plus 10 is reworked and put. So 70 is reworked. The final yield is good pieces divided by whatever was the input, that is final yield. Whereas the throughput yield is whatever is first time right divided by this thing. If this is clear, type super clear in the chat box. Okay, fantastic. Now, if you see the final yield, multiply the final yield, this into this into this, you will get 70%. Whereas, if you see the throughput yield, this into this into this, all of you type wow in the chat box. This is the power of the throughput yield. Okay, in the presentation, the same thing that I've highlighted here. So far you found it useful, type super useful in the chat box. If you are finding it interesting, valuable, useful, fantastic, awesome, just put it in the chat box. Let me also draw some inspiration from your chat. Okay. All right. Thank you very much. And please, those who are here for the first time, come to the upcoming webinar and be a part of our inner circle. Those who type this and come tomorrow will become a part of our inner circle. Okay. And if you stay till the end, I will share the presentation. So this is, and this is what is the probability of zero defect. The whole zero defect program starts with this metric. Now, later on, I will talk about plus or minus 3 sigma processes, plus or minus 4 sigma processes, plus or minus 5 sigma processes, and plus or minus 6 sigma processes. Now, why should you be the 6 sigma process? It is because of this. If there is only one step, 93.32%, because plus or minus 3 sigma process means it is 93.32, whereas plus or minus 6 sigma process means it is 99.99. The difference is only, how much percentage is the difference approximately between plus or minus 3 sigma and plus or minus 3 sigma and 6 sigma process? Okay, it is hardly 6 to 7%. Okay, now suppose if one process you get this 6 sigma, suppose if there are 10 steps, 93% into 93% into 93% into 93%, if you do it 10 times, you will get only 50 rolled throughput yield. Okay, whereas in 6 sigma it will still be 99.99. If there are 100 steps, this 3 sigma process will have the rolled throughput yield of just 0.1, whereas the 6 sigma process, despite 100 steps of each of that is 6 sigma process, will still be 99.97, and surprisingly Even if there are 1,000 steps, this will become, all of them will become rework. Okay, here, meaning all of the rolled throughput yield, all of them will become like no final yield. Everything is, whereas here it will still be 99.59. If this was something that is some new learning for you, or something like wow for you, type whatever that you feel in the chat box. So rolled throughput yield, right? Okay. So in complex process, the more number of process steps, the more is the room for error. Okay, attention to quality becomes important. Reducing the number of opportunities, process, steps, features makes the process more robust. So the more process steps you introduce, more is an opportunity for defect. Okay. So let's ask a few questions. What does the roll throughput yield measure in a production process? Overall production speed or cumulative probability of unit passing through all the steps of the process without defects, total cost of production process, or average time taken to complete production cycle? Simple answer, right? Yeah, B is the correct answer. Let us quickly ask another question. What is the formula for the roll throughput yield? Total output by input, sum of yield at each steps divided by the number of steps, or yield of step 1 into yield of step 2 into yield of step 3 till the final yield, or total defects by total units produced. Which is the correct answer? C is the correct answer. Okay. Another question. Why is the rolled throughput yield important in quality management? It identifies the most profitable products, or it measures the speed of production process, or it provides a comprehensive view of the process efficiency and the quality by considering all steps, or it helps determine the optimal pricing strategy. Pick the best answer. Absolutely, C is the best answer. Okay. We have got another couple of questions, that's all. Why is the classic or final yield an important metric in quality management? It helps in determining the optimal pricing strategy, or comprehensive view of process efficiency and defect rates, speed of the production process, or identify profitable products. This is also simple, right? Correct answer is to provide a comprehensive view. And all of you, before typing your message, just choose everyone and type the message, because many of you are typing to host and panelist. Okay. Why is throughput yield most important in quality management? Helps determine the total production cost. It indicates the efficiency of the production process. It measures the time taken to produce each unit. It identifies the maximum production capacity. Okay. Okay. So the correct answer is indicates the efficiency of production process.